Hi, it's just me, Nicola. Just before you listen to this episode, I just wanted to say the biggest thank you to every single one of you for listening to these stories each week. You are making my dreams come true. And if you are enjoying them, please subscribe and leave a review. It will really help us grow in the podcast world. Enjoy.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Inspire the Podcast with myself, Nicola Wills. Today's guest is the number one income earner in the UK in her online business. She's a property investor, business investor, and mum of three. Her story is of total transformation. The person you'll hear from today is not the person that she was 15 years ago. Her journey will show you that anything, and I mean anything, is possible for anyone. Please welcome my dear friend, Sarah Dunning. Yay! Oh, I'm so glad you are here. Now, just for the record, just so everyone understands our relationship. So Sarah and I are both in the same online business together. Sarah's actually a massive inspiration and mentor to me. She is the number one income earner in our organization, and she is the glue that holds the UK together. She is the vision. She is the light. She is amazing. But more than anything, what I love sharing is Sarah's story. So when people, message me like, oh, Nicola, can anyone do what you do? And I'll say, let me tell you a story of a lady. And it's always Sarah's story. So I just wanted you to get on for her to get on this podcast and for her to share her journey, to share her transformation, and to really just be the light, because Sarah is who she is today because she has decided and worked on herself, on every aspect of herself, to become the woman that she has chosen to be. And so, Sarah, let's take it back to the very, very beginning, the little Duns. Where did it all begin?
So I grew up in a really small town outside West Yorkshire, in Leeds, in West Yorkshire. And yeah, I was just shy, real introvert. I had a really happy childhood, absolutely had the best parents in my eyes. I look back and think I loved my childhood so much. I just loved all the parts about it. Been at junior school. Yeah, just had the best time. It just in my mind always seems like sunshine and happiness, and yeah, such good memories of that time.
Yeah, and you said you were shy. How did that present itself?
Well, when I look back at photographs, when I look back at photographs, when I'm little, and most of the pictures, I'm biting my lip, and I just was looking down. I'm just so afraid. I was just so afraid of so much stuff. It's really bizarre. I don't know where it comes from. I don't know if it's character. I don't know what happened, but I just was really, really shy, painfully shy, I'd say.
Okay. And do you have brothers and sisters?
Yeah, got a brother who is 5.5 years older than me.
And was he shy as well? Was that a thing that you were shy as a family?
Say he probably is. He's a massive introvert, total academic, so opposite to me. The brains.
Yeah.
Totally.
And you went on to be a dancer, but tell us about, to be a dancer, did your parents send you to dancing to kind of help you with your confidence?
No, what happened was a girl in my class went to dance school. And she was one of my close friends at the time. And I said, oh, Mum, Gemma's going to dance class. Can I go too? And Mum's like, oh, I don't want you to be one of those dancing kids. And my mum didn't want to be a dancing mum. And it's so funny. And she's like, okay, you can go. And then my first class, my mum stood outside and the teacher was so strict, really old school dance teacher.
Yeah.
And shouting and just full on going for it to all of us. And I was quite late going to dance class compared to most people. I think I was about 7 or 8. And my mum stood outside and she just waited for me. She was like, I'm guessing you don't want to go back in there. And I was like, I loved it. It was so good. And Mum was like, you are crazy. That woman's nuts. I just loved it. I absolutely loved every single minute of it. Yeah. So it was what
was it that you loved about it? If you're shy, kind of to be a performer, it seems quite crazy that you would want to do that.
Yeah, well, on reflection, as I've got older and done more personal development, what I've realised is it was an opportunity for me to express myself because I didn't feel confident talking it was like a self-expression thing, I think. And then as I started to realise I'm quite good at, first it was enjoyment, and then I thought, actually, I've obviously become quite good at it. And then being good at anything gives you confidence, doesn't it? A bit more confidence. So I think that's what really where it began. It began actually watching Cats the musical.
But me too. I went to Cats in Southampton at Mayflower. That was my first ever musical, age 9.
Oh my goodness, that's fun for me.
And I was like, oh my God, this is the best thing ever. When they were like creeping through the auditorium, it's like, da-da-da-da-da-da. And I was like, oh my God, you are amazing.
I know. I remember Bradford Alhambra. I remember it like a film in my head. I sat there and I was like, oh my goodness, I want to be a professional dancer. This is it. This is what I'm going to do. Such a clear moment.
Mine wasn't then. I wasn't like, I'm going to be a performer from there. I loved it. But it was when I saw Fame when I was 12. I watched it 4 times in 1 week at the Vic.
Oh my goodness. And you ended up being in it.
I was like, that's the one. Because it was more like poppy, cool. And that was like who I was, rather than like an actual technical dancer. Even at night, that age, I still knew that I was like, that's who I am. But it's crazy because without really realizing, both of us then, the law of attraction, we put that into place, didn't we? Because then we both followed our like dream and made that happen as a dancer. But talk me through your teenage years, Sarah. What was that like?
Not as enjoyable. So I think it's similar for a lot of people. I think when you hit your teen years, you just sort of, it's confusion of who you are, like what you're about. And I went to a humongous high school, and being the shy, sort of quiet person that I was just lost and invisible in a massive numbers. And, I wasn't particularly, I wasn't intelligent. The weird thing is, like, all my group of friends are super intelligent. But I think what I realise now is I wasn't good at exams. I think I am actually quite intelligent, but I wasn't good in an exam situation. I think I could have been diagnosed with something, I don't know what it, ADHD or something, I'm not sure. But I know part of my brain didn't work in exams. I don't know what that was. So yeah, I wasn't particularly super intelligent, sort of middle set, second set, and then in classes. And then I wasn't naughty either. So I was just really middle of the road, unnoticed. And as I've grown up, and I actually ended up had a period of my life teaching at a secondary school at a place called the Brit School, which is for performers. It really made me passionate about how I don't agree with all of the school system and what it offers in the UK. I just think, gosh, it really monitors sort of like 2 types of intelligence, and there's so many types of intelligence. And that's what I loved about the Brit School. When I taught there, kids would go there. Basically, a big part of their timetable would be studying a specific subject that they were talented in. So it'd be like music or art or drama. And it was incredible what happened to the rest of their grades from their previous school, where they were like, trouble or not doing great. They'd come to the Brit School and their grades would just fly through the roof because they felt confident and they started to feel good about something they were doing, and they applied themselves to the other stuff. So yeah, I just feel like school didn't serve me, particularly secondary school. And I basically came out not really knowing much more apart from Pythagoras' theorem. and really, really rock bottom self-esteem.
Yeah. And that self-esteem thing, I think, like, if there's one thing that I could teach my children, or actually anyone, it's I don't care how clever you are, but if you have self-belief and self-worth, the world is your oyster. Without that, you're in trouble, basically. And you're going to spend your whole adult life paying for it.
Yeah.
If you don't somehow learn to find your own true value. So then how did that then show up in your life? Because you went on to stage school, right, Sarah? Did you go from there on stage school straight away, age 16?
Yes. So I did A-levels in sixth form. My sixth form life became a bit different, to be honest. Like, I got a group of real close friends I'm still friends with today. There's 4 girls, 4 boys, and there's now 16 of us because they've all got partners. And we're still all such good friends. So sixth form was a great time. I loved it. And also, I didn't really care about my exam results because I knew I was going to dance college.
Oh, yeah, same. I had that.
So I was like, I know I'm going to dance college, so you've all got to get into unis. I'm all good. I've had fun. So I just had the best fun 2 years. It was such a brilliant time. And, learned to drive and going to all the parties. And yeah, it was brilliant. And then I went to dance college after my A-levels at 18.
What dance college did you go to?
I went to one in Blackpool called Phil Winston's Theatre.
Oh, yeah. Is it still around now?
It Yeah, it still is. Yeah.
Yeah,
It was
amazing.
great. Yeah.
But
I loved every single minute of it.
yeah, especially when you're doing something you're so passionate about, and then how was your confidence in that environment?
Yeah, it started to grow by then. It was definitely better than it had been, as a kid and has been smaller. But still, like, looking back now, I realised I didn't truly like myself. I wasn't all good with who I was.
Yeah. Yeah. And how did that show up? Like, how do you, looking back, what is it that you were doing that was making you, now that you know, like, was it kind of self-talk? Was it how you feel about yourself? Like, what did that show? How did it show up to you?
Yeah, well, it showed in auditions. At dance college, it was just a great time. And it was one thing we were focused on, and it was becoming better performers, better dancers. And I knew I could do that, and I loved it. But then when I got sort of out into the big wide world, and, it's highly competitive, it's intense, isn't it? Like, as you know. And just now I look back, I think I can't even believe I got any jobs, because I'd go in there going, I'm never going to get this. Like, my self-talk was disgusting.
I know, same.
Self-talk,
and
yeah.
I just believed that every single person in that audition room was better than me. Like, I would look around with no evidence. This is the thing. There's no evidence that they were. But I'd look around and I would just be like, gosh, she's prettier, she's thinner, she can get her leg higher, she can sing better than me, without, and then what that did would make me perform at like 50% of what I was actually capable of, if not less.
Yeah.
And
gosh, if I knew what I know now and I went into those audition situations, it'd been so different.
Honey, I'd been at Hollywood. Like, that's what
But, yeah.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. And exactly. It's what I know now. And it is just mind blowing. So then in your 20s, you did have a career, so somehow you battled through and you had a career as a performer. What shows are you in?
So I did all sorts of stuff, really. I did as a dancer, because I wasn't a strong singer. I feel like I could have been, but again, it was a confidence thing. So I never really focused on my singing, which I should have done. But anyway, because of that, I did mainly like dance focused jobs. So when I first left college, I went on, I worked on cruises around Hawaii, which I was just so excited that I was going to live in Hawaii for 6 months, like as a 21-year-old. So that was so much fun. It's just all about the fun. All sorts of different jobs, small, loads of pantomime, summer seasons. I did We Will Rock You was the last job that I did. So We Will Rock You was when I really thought, this is where my musical theatre career began.
Yeah.
And then sadly it didn't.
Yeah. So tell us what happened, Sarah, because you're in full. How old are you when that happened? When you were
26 when I got Rock You.
Okay, so you're in We Will Rock You. This is like a massive. If anyone doesn't know, this is the Queen musical. It is the musical of musicals, isn't it? Especially at that time, it was like the one to be in. So you've got this line of this dream job. What happens?
So I was air guitaring on stage, and I felt this really weird pain shoot down my arm, and it just came out of nowhere, because I wasn't one of those dancers that was injured. In fact, I don't think I'd ever been injured. And it's the weirdest feeling, and it was in the finale actually. So I was like, okay, it's weird. Just carry on as you do as a dancer. You're just like in agony, but keep doing what you do every single night. And then I got off the stage, and I remember saying to my friend Hetty, something is weird. I don't feel right. So I went to a physio. He did some checks, and I'd slipped 2 discs in my neck that were pressing on my nerve down my arm. So yeah, that's what happened, and it was so scary at the time. It doesn't sound it, but I went to this physio, and he basically said to me, you could wake up, these were the exact words, and now I know what I know about like law of attraction and what you say to people. He said to me, you could wake up one morning and not be able to feel your body from the neck down. He said that to a 27-year-old. I was like, in fact, what I did was I've never fainted in my life before that or since then. And I just fell off the chair and passed out.
Oh my God, that gives me like shivers, because it's just,
so sad.
Yeah, it's just so sad. But also, were you in also so much pain as well at the time, or not? How was it like?
Yeah, I think it was painful. I mean, it wasn't agony. And, when she'd given birth, nothing's agony.
Yeah.
You've got that comparison.
Yeah.
But, it was on the pain scale. It was painful, but it wasn't like an absolute excruciating pain.
But to be given that news, then what did you do with that? Like, what happened?
So my contract ended. It was sort of near the end of the contract, actually, after that. And I remember I just thought I was going to continue. I thought I'd see chiropractors and just see if I can carry on. Sort of ignoring it, really, being like complete denial. Because I really thought this is where it's going to take off. Like, this is where I'm going to get all the jobs off of the back of it. Because, like once you're in the door, you're in, it's so much easier to get seen for stuff. And I thought, so I remember getting to, I was actually a final for a Grease audition for Grease the musical. And there's a move that you have to do where it's a full on step, whack your head to the side. And I just had to walk out and I was like, I just can't do this, because the fear of what if this, because he said, if you continue, it just could get worse. And it's never going to be good if it gets worse. You might lose feeling in your arm, not be able to use your right arm. So I just constantly had this obsession that I wasn't going to be able to feel, use my right arm at some point. It was so scary. So I told my agent, and I just remember going, I just walked out the final because I just don't think I can do it. And, you don't want to tell them what's happened. I didn't actually tell him what happened because I didn't want him not to put me up for stuff. It's this weird, horrible scenario.
It's awful, yeah. And you just feel like then they'll be like, okay, cool, and bye. And not,
see you later. And he basically said, I can't represent you anymore if you're going to do things like an agent said, what they're like. They're not the nicest people always. Not that they're all bad, but it wasn't a particularly nice one. And and I was like, it's done, it's over. That's that career over. And it was just this, it was such a bad time in my life. Like I really was completely, I think I probably had a bit of a breakdown when I look back, because it's your identity, isn't it? Everything that I was. And to anyone that's in that profession, you just have to be fully obsessed with it. You have to live it, breathe it, sleep it, eat it. It's everything.
Yeah.
So I was like, who am I without that? And I've got no qualifications. Like, what am I actually going to do with my life?
Yeah, exactly. And when did the first conversation happen from that point to say, Sarah, there's this thing I think you should have a little look into? When was that?
That was about 5 months later.
Okay.
And I was living in
that 5 months, must have been really tricky then. Not like it's like no hope. It's like, what, as performers, it was like, okay, well, my dad used to say to me, well, Nicola, I think it's time you come home, like go back to Dorset, get yourself a normal job and get your head out of the clouds. Like, it was always that kind of chat. So I am in that scenario, my parents have been like, right, you're home, get your job at Tesco, and
that's it. I can't really remember. Mum and Dad have always been so supportive of everything I've done. So I'm sure they'll be like, she'll figure it out. She always does. And that's what my mum always told me, so that's probably what I believe about myself. But yeah, those 5 months were tough. And it's a summer in London, actually. And I remember my friend saying, let's go for a drink. I've got something to share with you. So I was like, oh, okay. And I just wasn't myself. Like, even thinking back how I responded in that situation, quite an optimistic, upbeat person, but I just wasn't. I think I was just zoned out of, like, I don't actually know what I'm going to do with my life or even who I am. And he just said, this company that's launched into the UK. It sounds really exciting. Like, I'm going to do it. Why don't you do it with me? And I was like, well, what is it? And he was like, it's like nutrition, health and wellness. It wasn't even nutrition at that time, actually. It's health and wellness, skincare. And I was like, I don't even know anything about that stuff. Like, but I'm not really interested in it, but I'll come along. I was just so open to, nothing else to do, basically. I was like, okay, I'll come. And that was it. And I sort of knew what I didn't want to do, and I'm sure I'd have figured something out. But I knew I didn't want to sit in an office. I knew, because I had such an exciting life being a performer, meeting different people and going different places, and every day is different. I knew I didn't want to sit in an office until I was 70.
Yeah. No, especially when you just got so much passion and drive for like life. Even if you didn't have that much confidence in yourself, you've seen the exciting side of life. And when you've seen that and know that exists, you can't not know.
Yeah, totally, yeah. And I remember another defining moment, actually. I was stood on the balcony in this place I used to live in Chiswick with these three of the dancers. My friend who was in the room next to me in the house share said, I've just got this book. It's amazing. You need to read it. And it was The Secret. The Secret did like the route performing world. And I read it, and he had a balcony like at the front of onto the high main street of Chiswick. And we like stood there, and I was like, put out there what you want. And I was like, I just want to do something that helps people. I want to be in a business or do something where I feel like I'm contributing or helping every day. And that's all I remember saying.
Easy.
I know. It's such a weird thing, but to remember that.
But it is that. It's quite, as a performer, that's not like, you're on the road as a nurse and that's what you want to help people. So the fact that you're thinking that without even knowing what you're about to get yourself involved in.
Yeah, I knew I really wanted to do that. And that's why I was thinking about, in fact, I even got a job as an occupational therapist assistant in a hospital in Uxbridge.
How interesting.
Because I was like, that's the path. I'm going to be a physio, an occupational therapist. And they'd like pay for you to do the degree. And I thought that was it.
And it wasn't. So tell us what happened. So that first initial conversation, what did that lead to? Then did you go to like a meeting or did you meet people? What happened?
Yes. So then I went to meet a guy I didn't know at the time, actually. I didn't know him at all. And my friend said, he'll tell us what it's all about. He'll explain the business opportunity. And I met this guy and I was like, oh my gosh, who is he? Like, he looked so dapper. He looked like the epitome of success. You look at someone, you think, you're just success.
Yeah.
He was so like smart, turned up in his Porsche. I was like, I don't know anyone like you. Like, everyone I know struggling to pay their rent. Like, who are you?
Love that.
Yeah.
And did he then share with you what was possible, basically?
Yeah, he talked about the business opportunity, obviously about the products as well that were attached to the business, but it was more about the possibility and the vision of what he was going to create and what was going to happen in the next couple of years in the UK. I was like, oh my goodness. And it wasn't, for me, it was just a knowingness of this is it. This is the thing. This is what I am meant to do.
And did you hear it and know it? Were you like, oh, this is what I would, yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember anything they told me, to be honest. I don't remember any part of what it was. I just remember walking back to Chiswick, up Chiswick High Road, thinking, oh my, I felt like I'd won the lottery. I was like, this is actually the thing that's going to change everything for me. It's just such a deep knowingness. I can't even describe it. It was just like unwavering belief that it was the thing that's going to.
And did you feel like, because I remember when I then actually understood what it was and I knew what I was going to do and I remember sitting on the tube and having this feeling like I was levitating off the chair because it was just like I was vibrating at such a high frequency of excitement and knowing that I'm changing my life and this is the vehicle and I found the thing. I remember feeling like I'm rising up. I could see people around me like just on their phones, like heads down. I went, and yeah, it was just magic, like the beginning of the business when you finally get it. Like, it took me 3 years to get to that point. Obviously you heard it and felt it, but when you get it and like the hope and the possibility when you have nothing.
Totally. It's the hope. It's the hope that, first of all, my life's not going to be like this forever. It's not going to be a struggle, because financially it was a struggle in London. Like, no matter what I did, it was always a bit short at the end of the month. So I just thought, and I'd not been on holiday for years. I don't think I had a holiday as an adult, because I didn't want to miss auditions. I couldn't afford it. So I just thought, oh my goodness, I'm able to like have choices and like go away and do things and support my parents in their retirement. And then I started to think about my friends and I was like, they're all going to be able to have this too. Because that's the amazing thing about this industry. That if you get good at this, you can teach it to other people. It's not like you need a certain skill set like a dancer. I couldn't teach everyone to be a dancer. Not that you'd want to be, but I could teach. I believed I could teach most people the skills to make a success of this, and that's when I got so excited. I was like, "This is the golden ticket." The hope was, and you're exactly right. It was the frequency. 2 years of living in London before I moved back up to Leeds of just being on the highest high. I didn't want to sleep. I was like, "There's no time to sleep. I'm too excited."
Yeah, that's exactly what I felt like. It was 2.5 years where I can look back now and the transformation in who I was, what I believed about myself. It was like, that the catalyst, like the caterpillar going into a butterfly. Like, I always knew that I had more in me, but I had no way to know what that was. And that's why, the business of network marketing is so amazing, because it does allow anyone, obviously with the work and everything that goes into it, to then actually blossom into who they were. And I owe everything to it. Like, I wouldn't be here where I am today without it. So But Sarah, take us the beginning of your journey. So are you still of network marketing? Are you still underconfident at this time? Like, do you still feel like, oh gosh, about yourself?
No, I wouldn't say so.
Okay.
And I just stumble. The phrase that I think summarizes it is just I'm all good.
Yeah.
And I think when you meet people, because there's, different types of confidence and self-worth, and then there's the bravado of confidence, and then there's ego. It's, it's complex, isn't it? When you meet someone, you're like, are they confident? Are they confident? But I think when you meet someone who's confident, there's a sense of just peace that they're all good.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's where I am after years of, there's always moments, just less moments, where you have a little moment like, ugh.
So take us back. You've heard it. You're about to embark on your network marketing entrepreneurial journey. What does that look like?
Well, I was terrible. I mean, horrendous, awful. I just was really bad because I had such low confidence. I was so sort of, I suppose I was confident as a dancer. I had confidence that I was a good dancer, but confidence and self-worth are two different things. So I didn't have the self-worth to feel like I was worthy of the success, I suppose. So I'd sort of be apologetic. I was very apologetic. Like I'd just say sorry for no reason. I'd be like, so sorry, sorry about that, sorry. Like that was the main part of my vocabulary. I remember the chiropractor that I went to was like, you say sorry about every third word. And I was like, I'm so sorry.
Oh, sorry. Oh my God. And I've got so many people listening to that can relate. It's almost like I'm just apologizing for just being in your presence. Yeah.
Horrendous when you think about it. Like so sad. So sad.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
And, it must have been multiple things that got me to that point in my life. But what happened was so that first year, I just started to plug into the calls. So one of the things that I love about this industry is you have access to incredible mentorship, and not just one amazing mentor, several, like lots and lots of mentors. And I just would listen to them and get so inspired and learn so much, and basically shift how I changed my perception on how I thought about things, how I thought about myself, how I thought about life, tools that I could implement to use. And that alongside reading some amazing books.
What's your book? What books are your like ones that you think they did the job?
Yeah, and I think there's so many great books, but at that point in my life, the ones that I read that really changed so much for me were The Success Principles by Jack Canfield. Such an incredible book. Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I remember reading that and just thinking, hold on a second. It just like fireworks going off above my head. Like, I've traded time for money. Everything I've ever done, every job I've ever done, I've been in a circumstance where I've worked an hour, got paid an hour, or been told I'm worth that amount for that amount of time. And I remember the sentence where in that book it says, you can never have freedom as long as you're trading time for money. You have to find a way to create income that's not attached to time. And then he said network marketing is one of the best ways to do that for most people. And I remember I can still see the paragraph. It's at the bottom of a page. I can't remember what page it is, but just thinking, this is it. And actually, for most people, this is the best way to create that income that's not attached to time, that gives you choices and freedom ultimately.
Yeah. And I think,
and then the slight edge was the other one I'd say.
Yeah. Amazing. And for me too, there was also this, obviously the secret, it's like what we all learn, like from The Secret, it felt like this was a business opportunity that for the first time ever, everything that I'd been learning about The Secret and manifesting things and my mindset, and I could actually apply to something that was going to change my life. Yeah. Not just create a vision board and wish and hope. It was like, I can have the vision board of the dream life that I want, but I've actually now got the financial vehicle to make that happen. Mm-hmm. It's just amazing. So for everyone that doesn't understand about network marketing, you sell products, and then if you want to, be very, very successful, you build a team and teach them to sell products, basically. So a lot of part of it is speaking to people, introducing people to the concept of it, introducing them to the product, introducing them to the business. Now, Sarah, to share with everyone, how many people did you speak to before even one person joined you?
Yeah, so the days before Zoom, and the miraculous thing that we're on now. We met people in person. So I'd drive up and down the country and I'd get my laptop out and share the presentation of the business. And I'd be like, do you get it? Isn't it the most exciting thing? And 154 people said, no, I don't get it. You're crazy. So that was like presentations from like Scotland to Cornwall to literally all over the country. If you know the UK, drive there, turn up. It was a no again.
I know. And how was it over 18 months? Was that?
That was 12 months, the first 12 months.
The first 12 months.
And not one person said yes for the first year. And I was fully all in. Like anyone that's created any sort of success in anything knows it takes a level of obsession or all-inness for a period of time. And I was that for the first year. I was so all in. Like I didn't miss anything. I was on all the calls. I was doing the reading. I was doing the learning. I was doing the action. Scared to death doing the action, like shaking constantly, but so far out my comfort zone. It was insane. But I was so desperate for change. Yeah. I didn't want my life to be like it was forever. And I knew this was the way it would change it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that no matter how awful it made you feel doing it, you still did it anyway.
Yeah.
You know, whatever that was.
The why was bigger.
Yeah, the why was bigger than what you had to do. And so you're driving up and down the country, you know, after every presentation, someone says no. How did you keep your mindset in the set of, well, someone will say yes? How did you have that belief that they would?
It was just a fact. It's weird. I can't really explain it. It's just a fact in my mind. I knew it was going to eventually work. I just thought they're all crazy. Why can't they see this? I never, ever, even though all those people told me it wasn't going to work, to me, it always was. And I just thought, you're the crazy ones. You can't see this. I just couldn't understand. I was like, what can you not understand? I was just so flummoxed. I was like, what can you not see that? Because it's so crystal clear to me that it made so much sense. It just made so much sense. There was no part of it that I thought didn't make sense.
Yeah. And why do you think they said no?
I think probably a lot of people need evidence. And they need to see that something is going to work before they take the risk. I think some people just don't have the same vision and don't have a desire for change. They're quite happy in what they're doing. They're not willing to take the risk. Care what people think of them, I think is a massive one for anything that you do. Lots of reasons, I suppose.
Yeah. And do you think, you know, over that 12-month period of you doing a presentation, did you change? Like, did you become different for someone to then actually say yes to you?
Unrecognizable. Like the first year, from the first day I started to the year later, I looked the same, but I was a completely different person inside. Totally different. And it's continued to change for 15 years. But actually the reason after that first year why most people came back or saw me out and about and said, are you still doing that business that you're doing? And I was like, yeah, I'm always going to be doing it. Like, this is it. I am doing this. And then the second thing was most of them said, I can't believe how different you are. Like, you're so different. So that's actually why most people ended up joining my business, because of the change that they saw in me. They're like, it's unbelievable how much you've changed. And obviously the conviction of what I was talking about and the belief became stronger because I believed in myself more. So people
And what was the change? Like what you became more confident and self-assured? Was that the change that they saw?
Yeah, I think it probably was that. That's how it showed itself. But it was work on lots of different things. You know, I really had a strong morning routine. So when I first read the Success Principles, I heard him talk about something, basically everything in that book I applied, because I just thought, if that's what it takes to be successful, I'm going to apply every single principle. And there's a lot of them. But one of them that I really thought made total sense was something he called the hour of power. And now today, it's a lot more people know it as The Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod, because he's written an amazing book on that. But the hour of power, I was like, that makes complete sense. And as he explained things to do in that time, I was like, that's obviously going to make a difference if I do that every morning. So actually, at the time as I was building my business, I was also teaching. I got a teaching job because for most people, this is a side thing. You don't need full-time hours to do it. So I was teaching full-time at the Brit School and building my business around that, sort of in the evening and a weekend. And yeah, I just thought I found ways to make it work.
Yeah. And the thing is, when you know what's possible, you go to bed late, you wake up early, you do whatever it takes.
Yeah,
There's absolutely no excuses.
I was at about 5 hours sleep because I had to be in school at 7:30. So I'd get up at 5. I'd never got up at 5 in my life. Like I'd never seen 5 o'clock. So, but that's what they said to do, like the 5 a.m. club. I was like, okay, I'm getting up at 5. So I get up at 5, and then after work, I'd probably go straight into London to meet people, to talk to them, to whatever, and then get back on the tube, be back at my house for about 11 o'clock midnight, get up at 5 again. Yeah. I did that
Amazing.
for about 2 years.
For 2 years. So the first year, basically complete year of no's. The 155th person said yes. And then was that the beginning of the yeses? Is that when it all changed?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then it was just like, yes. It was just like so many people came back from that first year.
Yeah.
Because I think nothing had changed in their life, and they could see, I was going to Las Vegas on an annual conference and doing exciting things, and people were like, what is it that you do? It does look amazing, actually. Maybe I don't want to listen again, actually. Will you tell me what it is again? So that's sort of what happened in that second year. And then by the third year, we were just in massive momentum, and yeah.
And
so
yeah, exactly. And who did join you? Were they your friends or people you didn't know? Like who joined you on that journey at the beginning?
Yeah, I mean, you're both good friends, and then like friends of friends. And then Stewie, obviously your best friend, moved into my house. So he rented a room in my house, and that's how I met Stuart. And I remember I used to train on, he joined quite a lot later along actually in my business. And I remember used to train teams and saying, you're not going to meet your next national vice president in your kitchen. Get out your house. And I actually met Stuart in my kitchen.
Yeah, I remember. And I remember Stuart saying to me, well, she drives this was it a Rover that has the wing mirror taped on? And then one day he was living with you and you looked out the window and you'd had this brand new white Mercedes delivered. He was like, oh my God, what is this girl doing? No.
Yeah,
and
so funny.
All because he moved in with you and all of us, so that obviously I'm then linked to Stuart, he's my best friend, but we all had nothing, like living in our overdraft, just, we'd go out, but we would drink water, or I would like flirt with a guy just to get a free drink. Like that was our life. Like there was no, going and eating in a restaurant or buying healthy food, because the food was, I remember living off Heinz baked beans and Heinz tomato soup and having like rice crackers and thinking, it's not bread, so it's like healthy. Like that was my healthy living, and if I had cheese, it was never like Cathedral City. It was like the Tesco value cheese that also had the blue sticker on.
Oh my goodness.
It was just, that was our life. And I think people see, myself, they see you, they see us all on social media and our lives now, and they think, oh, wow, I'm relatable, but that is the reality of what our life was like.
Yeah, I used to add up. I remember like before being at the Brit School, in my calendar, like my paper diary, I'd write what I'd earned that month. And sometimes it was like £250 for the month. I'm like, how did I actually live on that money? Like, what did I do? And it is so true. It's a miracle how we survived. Yeah. It was crazy.
Yeah. You just don't know what you don't know. So I never felt unhappy that I was, living on basic cheese, or I was just happy because I didn't really know there was a life more than,
totally. Yeah, I was quite happy. I wasn't unhappy or miserable. I was like, this is what it is for now.
Yeah.
And I remember, one of the reasons why I started my business, I was like, I want to do my weekly shop at Marks and Spencer's.
Yes. I mean, I used to feel so inferior, like walking past the Waitrose. So I see all these like fancy people coming out and think, wow, God, they're in Waitrose and I'm off to Asda. And obviously there's nothing wrong with Asda. But at the time, I felt comfortable in Asda, and I would never have gone into Waitrose because they were just people that were above who I thought that I was at the time,
Yeah, totally. Oh yeah, definitely. I felt the same.
And so your business grew, and did your confidence grow?
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah, it really did. And it came from a lot of the personal development, realizing that inner voice, that voice and what it's saying. That was probably one of the biggest things. I remember going to a training and a lady at the front of the room, one of the business owner, someone in Arbonne, someone in the business, saying there's this voice in your head, and that's the voice that's going to, determine how you think about yourself. And I genuinely can remember this thought, thinking, I don't have that voice. And literally the voice was saying, I remember saying. And I was like doing my washing a few days later, and I was thinking, gosh, I hate so much doing this. I was like, that's the voice. And I heard it for the first time. And I think sometimes it starts with awareness, like that lack of awareness of hearing anything. And then when you tune into it, that's when you can think that is so destructive. And then you think, right, I've got to change that. And then I really got on a mission, an intentional mission to change how I thought about myself. And that's when it really all started to change. It's through affirmations and, reading the right affirmations are huge for me.
And yeah, so what did you do? Like, people listening to this and they have that voice, even though they didn't have that voice, but I remember that same feeling, that going, what's she talking about? But that is it. The inner dialogue that you're always consistently listening to is going to completely shape your life 100%, like, without fact. And so you change that voice, you change your life. And so how did you go about doing that? Like, was it affirmations, what, staring yourself in the mirror, like saying things like, tell us the process of that.
It was a morning routine, because it's consistency. Doing it consistently is obviously the key to anything. But I knew that morning routine, if I got those things done on a morning, I knew it'd always get done every day. So it was things like, visualizations and affirmations and reading and meditation, quiet in the mind, all that sort of stuff. And actually so passionate about it that years on, that's why I created the Be Well Club, which is what we do. That's just available for anyone. And I really started that in lockdown because I could see people having lots of, mental and mental health issues. And I thought, gosh, so much of it can be helped by these 7 practices. And I just started doing a Zoom call. And then I got people who I know, amazing mentors and coaches in my business, to say, are you up for doing it too? And they'd take a week and then I do a week. And it's just there. So if you want to change these things, the best place to start is get a great morning routine. And the Be Well Club is there for anyone if you've not got a clue how to start.
Yeah, it's amazing. And if you are listening to this one, who's part of the Be Well Club, just reach out to myself or Sarah and we can add you in. It's completely free of charge. And we've got now 7,000 people in there. So like, committed to leveling up, being better, keeping their mind in check, learning, understanding. It's completely free. It's just something that, that you have created, that we're all on board with and offer.
And accountability is such a big part of it, like, because you're going to get on the Zoom every morning and people are like, I'm watching out for you, I'll see you there. You sort of think, oh, just get up and get on.
Yeah, absolutely. And people are there in their pajamas. It's not like you've got to show up. It's just whatever, just set your alarm, get on and be there with the community of over 7,000. And, it's global as well. It's, it's growing and growing. Every single day I'm accepting new people into that group. Yeah. And so then what happened? So then you started earning money, right? Proper money. How did this change your life?
Well, the money changed. So many parts of it changed my life. But in terms financially, I think I really wanted to build a business because I didn't want to have to worry about money. It wasn't really any materialistic drive. I wanted to buy a house. Okay. I'd love the thought of owning my own home. So that was definitely a big driver for me. I wanted to retire my parents, which was a big driver too, or help them, in the retirement. And just not to worry. I just wanted to be able to live and be present and choose what I want to do, not be restricted by money. I couldn't do it because of money. I wanted to be able to say yes to everything I want to do, yes to who I want to spend time with, yes to, that's really what it was. That was the driving force. So it's changed everything from like that bedsit, like that 1-bedroom, room that I rented, to living in a 7-bedroom house now. And, my fiance doesn't have to work because of our business. My parents have an amazing retirement and they contribute towards and doing nice things and helping them. It's just amazing. And the impact it's had is it's sort of immeasurable, really. Yeah. And it's hard to imagine where we'd be if it wasn't for this business.
Yeah, exactly. What would we, as kind of retired performers, what would we have done? I always think that.
I'd be having a nervous breakdown somewhere, I think I would.
Shaking in the corner. Like rocking the God. I mean, I know that I would have been, my outlet it would have been victim mentality. I need someone to rescue me, anyone just to take me out of this, rather than actually having the ability and the mindset and the means to go, I am going to change this for myself, which is what I really believe network marketing does. And why I'm so passionate about network marketing is it just gives, and especially mums, and I know that both of us are passionate about this, we became mums kind of around the same time, and it was like, oh my God. And it's so easy, isn't it, to get lost in the mum world and forget who the fuck I am, and I did. Really? Yeah, I really did. And it was like I had my own business, and it was like I would just be able to plug into it and go, oh, there I am. There I am. You know, there are my people. I do have a vision. I do have a work ethic. I'm not just this person that's just like a milk machine or just plodding along in life. And I just feel like this, you know, any network marketing business, you know, has that ability to lift you up from wherever you are, plug you into a community, and, you know, give you the opportunity that I don't really exist anywhere else.
I agree.
Tell me, Sarah, why community is just so important to you?
I actually read a book called Outliers. And it's sort of the first couple of pages, if you've never read the book, it's a really good read, but it talks about the power of community and actually how it's a big story in there that I won't go into, but ultimately they conclude that this community, this little group of people that moved from Italy to America were outliving everybody else in the US, but their diet had stayed they'd adopted the American diet. They were smoking, they were drinking. So it's nothing. So they couldn't figure out why this group of people were living so much longer. So then when they went to this little place and walked the streets, they could see like people stopped and talked to each other. They belonged to clubs and groups, and they were like, the thing that actually they have is a belongingness to something bigger than themselves, a community. And I was like, it just gives me shivers, because I think that's what we've definitely lost with, there's amazing parts about being online and social media, but just knowing your neighbour. And it's just so important, I believe, for our mental health to be connected to other human beings. So yeah, that is a big part of what the network marketing industry is a really big advocate for. It's so much about community, because it tends to attract sort of like-minded people that have that slight optimistic character. Because when people hear the information, the cynics will sort of go, oh, that'll never work, things like that don't work, and that's fine. And then the optimists go, what if it does? And that's sort of the group of people that you're left with, and they tend to be like quite fun and upbeat and positive. So you start belonging to this community of amazing people.
Yeah, absolutely. And those people, you know, I'll be totally transparent. You know, I have been like in my podcast world, not plugging in really to my R1 community. And it was like last week, I just felt this real sense of like, oh, I'm just on my own. I'm this real sense of loneliness. What is it that's making me feel like this? You know, there's Ben there, there's my family there. But what I was missing was my R1 community, my people, to bounce off, you know, and it took like a 2-hour conversation with one of, you know, our great friends who's, you know, a friend of ours, but also she's, you know, really within in the R1 community in an amazing way. And I was like, oh God, like she is the reason why I'm like, I need that. I miss that. It's like feeding that, but that's something in us that just wants to belong to something.
And connected to like-minded people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Who are interested in the same things of like becoming the best version of themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, Sarah, how long have you been doing your online business now for?
15 years, June 2008. In fact, it was 15 years a few days ago.
15 years. Yeah. And talk us through those 15 years. Like, what has that looked like? So obviously, we've kind of gone quite in depth about the first few years, like changing your life, like dramatically the big like shift. Then, you know, over the last 15 years, what have you done? Like, have you just been spending the money? Like, what do you do?
Well, yes. Well, what happened was when I sort of got to the top level of the company, and I became then obsessed with helping other people get to the top level of the company. And then I sort of realized, right, if you don't get back, there's a point, I think, where you're obsessed to create what you do. And then at that point, I was single. I was 35 with no kids. And I knew for me personally, I knew I wanted children. So I was like, Sarah, you've got to shift this, because if you keep going like this, you need to create a bit of balance in your life and a bit more than just work. And because I loved doing what I did so much. I could quite easily do it every waking hour, and I still could today. I have to really rein myself in because I love it. It sets me alight. I just absolutely love every part of it. So I had this conscious decision of like, okay, and this was about 2015, I think. I was like, I want to meet someone. Like, I really want to meet someone, and I want to have children. So I basically treated it like business.
I love that. I love that.
Like, get on the dating apps, do the numbers. Because I know business is about numbers, like sales is about numbers. Everything's about numbers. If you speak to enough people, you're going to find the right people. And I just thought it's the same with dating. If I speak to enough people and go on enough dates. So what I did was really strategic about it. I would only meet people in this bar that was 2 minutes walk from my house. I was like, I can only meet here and I've only got 30 minutes because like I'm not spending hours with someone that I just don't want to be sat there with. So I would just do so many, at the end of my miracle morning, I'd get on the swipes, I'd do so many swipes, and I'd be like, right, I'll meet you, schedule them in, go meet them, yes, no, next. I was treated like that. And then about the fifth day in, I met my now fiance.
Was it only the fifth day?
It was a fifth date, yeah. It was only 5. I think it might have been more, actually. I feel like it's about the fifth.
That's pretty good. Remember, that was our time, and we spent quite a lot of time together because we both got like heartbreak, didn't we? At the same time, the Sean and Mario era. And we were heartbroken because what both of us had done, we were like ready for that part of our life, and we had seen the person that we were with and go, well, I'm ready, so let's do this. And my Mario was like, what? And I was devastated. And also both of us had really we were driving it. We were those people, but we actually wanted to be with a man that would also take the lead. But remember that book that you introduced to me? It changed my life.
I remember the conversation about the book and where we stood in the conference.
I know. So Sarah introduced me to a book, which I now I love. And this book is called Getting to I Do by, is it Patricia Allen?
Yeah, I think so. It's so old school. But the principles.
It's so old school. Yeah. And the title it's got nothing to do with it. And I read this and I was like, oh my God, I am so much in my masculine energy. Basically, I am masculine. Driving my business, creating all this. There's no room. I want to meet this masculine man, but how? Because I'm not being remotely in my feminine energy. And it was like, when I go on these dates, I don't need to tell them I'm this powerhouse, boss babe, bitch. I just want to let them lead. And with both of us, and we really had to learn the difference and what it meant to be a feminine, having both, best of both worlds. That we can be in our masculine, go in our business, but we can also be a feminine woman that we actually really are. Yeah, and I didn't know anything about that. I was thought, well, I am a woman, so therefore I am feminine. But it's the yin and the yang to it. And at the time I was living with Stuart and Francis. We were getting on my business. We were all heavily doing, working on our network marketing businesses. And then I would have a date. And in the book, it would say, put on soft feminine music. So I would put on this classical wafty music. And then I'd be and I'd practice talking in a less aggressive voice. And Stuart would be like, hello, Emily.
Funny.
And I'd have to learn, I would go on a date. People were like, you don't have to do this, but you do. We did have to do this. We had to learn, just like we had to, if we wanted to meet the man of our dreams, just like we had to build the business of our dreams, we had to learn skills, right? And this book taught us the skills it's that energy. When we were building our businesses, we had that forward energy, that forward thrust, which is a masculine energy. And then when we were in our feminine energy, we had to sit back. So I would go on dates and I always would say to myself, cross your legs and sit back. And just receive and listen and be just oh, that's interesting, rather than lead the conversation and try it,
Yeah. It doesn't mean you can't still be you, but it's just really interesting to hear. That's just how it works. It's the way of the energies of the world and relationships. It's got to be a masculine and a feminine energy, a yin and a yang. And depending on what you want, you might be okay with a feminine man, but we wanted the masculine, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. And so we learned those principles and you basically met Kev.
Yeah, I did. And I was like, oh, I shouldn't say that. I was going to say. No offense to anyone with the name Kevin. But I was like, it's not my favourite name. So I don't know if I can marry someone called Kevin. Now I love the name because it's him to me. You know what I mean? There's a lot of bad associations with Kevin.
Yeah. It's very of a certain era, isn't it? My dad's called Neville. I would never be It's like, oh, like baby Kevin, where would ever that, or baby Neville? Like, how do these people choose to have these names? But it's of an era and a time, isn't it? So, but yeah, but I know what you mean.
But anyway, he turned out to be an absolute dream. So he was just, yeah.
And that book was just, so if you are built like in your boss babe era, which you can still be both, you can still be a boss babe and you can still have a masculine man. It's just knowing when to it's like switch on one, switch on the other. I'm sat in my office, I'm boss babe Nicola, creating these things like I love it. And then I go home and I do have to actively, for Ben to be able to be in his masculine without me absolutely literally pissing on his parade because I'm there being in my masculine. Yeah. We only have arguments really when that's happening.
Yeah. Yeah, so true.
It is
fascinating.
It is fascinating. So get the book. It's called Getting to I Do by Patricia Allen. And so you met Kev, and then at what point, you're really high up in your business at this point, aren't you?
Yeah. Yeah. When was that? Yeah. So I had a really big business at that point.
Yeah. Yeah. And then do you think he was like, oh, wow. Like, did you share at the beginning with him, like, I'm this entrepreneur, I've got this big business, like, or did you kind of keep that to yourself?
He always reminds me of something that I don't remember, but we apparently went away to his little retreat and sat in the hot tub. And I was thinking, I don't actually know if he knows. And Kev was like, well, basically, you're a big deal. So apparently I said to him, like, do you know what I earn a month? And actually what happened was, at the time he used to have a recruitment company, and a girl had come to interview for him who had a business with Arbonne. And Kevin said, oh, I'm seeing a girl who's in Arbonne. And this girl reacted like, oh my goodness. Sarah, Sarah, doesn't he? And he said, I think she basically told him what I earn. It's like, do you know what she earns?
So and he's like, what? I better give her a ring. I better get on a second date. She sounds amazing.
I know. Yeah. So that was just really about.
That's amazing. I love that. And then, the story continues, and you retire, Kev? I'm not sure you want to say that. Is that what happened?
Well, I was able to, yeah, because what happened was his mum got really poorly and she got terminal cancer and very long to live. So because of the business we had, as I had, he was able to close down the recruitment company. And there was a few other reasons as well, but it wasn't what he was loving. He didn't love doing it. He didn't love going every day. And we had 2 children from a previous marriage. So what it enabled him to do was pick the kids up from school, which he wasn't able to do when he was in recruitment. So he's picked them up every single day since, we've been together. And that's just what the business has been able to do, and spend those last few months with his mum and not having to worry. Those are the times when you just think it's the biggest gift.
Yeah. Oh God, absolutely. Absolutely. When my brother died, I literally was just a complete mess. And the only thing that it was, if I was in that space in a normal job, I would still have to go to work. I couldn't say, I'm sorry, I need the next 3 months off because of what's just happened. There would be, I'd have lost my job. That was so, but with my Arbonne business, people like yourself, people that are around me, picked up what I wasn't doing and helped me, and it just kept going. And I was still receiving my paycheck, even though I was not plugged into it at all. And that is the beauty of this type of business. And obviously you don't get that, and I think it's all transparency for everyone. That doesn't happen in the first, 6 months of your business. We have been growing, I've been in Arbonne now nearly 10 years, and obviously even 15 years. And so, that happens over time, but how precious that is.
Yeah. That's what it's worth it for. Those days when it's a struggle or it's a challenging, there's moments where you just think there's nothing that could match this. I'm so grateful for what it's given, those choices, those kind of choices.
Yeah. Looking back on your journey, Sarah, what do you think it's like, if you're like, that is the biggest thing that this building this business has given you? What would you say that is?
Inner peace. Just being all good with myself, not caring what other people think.
Oh, that's magic.
Yes, magic. Liberating. So freeing. I was consumed by what other people thought. I was so oversensitive. I'd lay in bed at night thinking, rerunning every conversation I'd had. Did I say anything to offend them? Did I say the wrong thing? Should I have said that? Oh my God. It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, why did the business give you inner peace? Like, because if people just listening to this, we're like, well, it's just a business. How can a business give you inner peace?
Yeah, well, it's the personal development journey that goes alongside building a network marketing business. It sort of has to go hand in hand, really. Hal Elrod says you can't be a level 3 person with a level 10 business.
Yeah. So your business will only ever grow to the level that you are.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, totally. And then what I also love about this type of business is that, in any other area, in every other business, you grow and you grow, as your business, you go financially, but it's you. And then you've got your friends still where they were. But the best thing about this is all of your friends, all of your best friends and my friends and my mom and my sister, we all did it. We all have done it.
Yeah.
So now we're all growing together. So it's not like I'm just paying for my friends to do the things because they can't afford it. We're all at that same level together.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's just priceless, isn't it? It's like we can all be successful. It's not just you.
Yeah. Yeah. That's totally it. That's one of the best things about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bring people along with you.
Yeah, exactly. And so if people are listening to this now, thinking, okay, well, I don't really know, I've heard about network marketing. Why do you think it is like the best thing for someone to do?
I think it's the whole package that it offers, because there's other ways to build passive income today. But I just think it's the whole package together. It's a leadership development program. It's the community. It's the personal growth. It's the things that you learn, it's the entrepreneurial skills that you learn to build a business that are applicable to so many things that help me build like a portfolio of properties and have the confidence when someone comes with me to, offer another business opportunity or investment, to look at it and feel confident that I know what I'm looking at, I know what I'm investing in. I was a dancer, and it's just learned so much. So it's the whole package. It's everything. It's the friendships, it's the experiences and the trips that you go on with people. There's so much to it that I just think is incomparable and you can't find anywhere else.
Yeah, exactly. And I was actually speaking to my friend earlier, who's also in network marketing in another business model. There are so many of us, because I would definitely look at it to go, I wasn't like, this isn't my dream career, this isn't my dream choice. But what it has been for so many of us is a platform. It's elevated, it's taking us from just like that feeling of God, I can't even keep my head above the parapet. Like I can't breathe, with low self-worth, no money. It has given us the vehicle to get ourselves out of there. And then, like, for example, our great friend Stuart Francis, who've also been on this podcast, I know that and he will also say this, they are insanely successful on TikTok and social media as huge influencers now because of their album business, because that gave them the platform. It gave them the finances to be able to do that, to give them the space to do it, the confidence to do it, how to speak to people, how to build, how to, network, to build them, And so if you are listening to think, well, it's not kind of really what I want to do. It isn't really what I wanted to do. It's not really what you wanted to do. But what it is the vehicle to potentially, what else do you want to do?
Yeah.
There's no way I'd have done this podcast if I hadn't have got all of the experience and the value of what, half the reason I do it is when I used to go to all of the trainings, I was just obsessed with the stories. They'd be like, these are the 5 steps. I'm like, boring. And I'd be like, but here's the story of, and I'm like, yes, give me the stories, give me the journey, because I was so inspired by the journey of this is where they were and this is how they got there. And, a massive reason of why I'm doing this podcast is because I just obsessed with the journeys, the ups and downs of what it took. And there's so many examples of that. People that we don't even know, but their background started in a network marketing model.
I think nearly everyone that's like an inspirational speaker, so many people, the listeners probably like love, follow. If you go back in their background, so many started in network marketing.
Yeah.
So many.
Absolutely. So what is next for you, Sarah?
Do you know what? I know this is my purpose and calling, and lots of people like say, do this to go on to something else. But for me, I'm here for life. I love the company that I'm with. I love the people that I'm surrounded by. I love doing this business, and I'll never ever stop. So yeah, for me, I want to help more people have what I've got through this vehicle.
Yeah.
I love that part about it. Seeing someone who's like me 15 years ago and thinking everything can change for you.
Yeah. And you are such the example of that. Oh, we forgot to mention, this is my favorite story. So within our business model, you actually can earn a car, right? And it was the Mercedes. It is other cars now, but you can earn the Mercedes. And you had to get hypnotized to speak at your own car presentation, didn't you?
Yeah. And that's how petrified I was. Like, what public speaking? I can't even tell you. It was like they say it's the second best fear after death. That's what it was for me. Frozen with fear. So when I got to the carnival, I'd never spoken in front of a group. I'd just done one-to-ones, coffee meetings. I'd never actually spoken in front of a group. Petrified. So I had to, on the build-up to know it was going to happen, I had hypnotherapy for about 4 months, I think it was. And I was still petrified I was able to do it. And then I think when something like that happens, you think, okay, I didn't die. I'm still here, I can do it again next time. And that's the out of the comfort zone things where the real growth happens.
Yeah. Yeah. And you've stepped out of your comfort zone so many times. You have trained on stage in Vegas in front of how many people?
20,000 people. Like, it's mental. And it's weird because I know now and I'm so tuned into my internal voice, I can just quieten it down if it starts saying irrational things. And I just think I'm just talking to people. If I impact one person and make a difference, I've done my job. But the ego wants you to be like, it's petrifying out there and you're going to mess up. You know what I mean? So you just have to shut that ego voice down and be like, I know what I'm here for. And I stay so calm before I walk out to the stage. It still like blows my mind. I'm like, oh, goodness, not even slightly flustered.
Really? You don't even feel almost nerves anymore?
No, I don't really. I was last time I spoke though.
That is incredible. That is actually to get to that point where it's like that self-knowing, self-trusting, and knowing that it's not even, I definitely get nervous, but I don't even know why. I couldn't tell you why I get nervous, but it's like that, it's like a panic before I go on.
Yeah. I think there's that feeling that you want to do the best you can. And there's that thing of like, I want to do my best. I hope to do the best on behalf of everyone else type thing. But then I was just think, I'll say what I'm meant to say. I trust in something, bigger than me. The universe knows got my back.
Yeah. And with that, Sarah, talk about your beliefs and thoughts with the law of attraction. How have you used that, and do you believe in that?
Yeah, I totally believe in it. And I just genuinely live in that state of like eternal optimism. I think my default mode, I don't know if that's something that's learned or just my character and my personality, but my default is always just to say the good. It's instinctive. It might be practice that I've got better at that, but I just genuinely just think that's the way it's meant to be. That's good. Actually, that's good because even if it's the worst thing that's happened, I'm like, it's going to be okay.
Yeah, that's amazing. And then how would you like teach someone? Let's say someone joins your team and they're always like focused on, like, they just can't help but thinking something's not going to go right. How would you help someone to change that mindset?
Yeah, it's a shift in perspective and reprogramming your neural pathways for a lot of people, which can totally be done with a morning routine and like doing all the learning, being aware of that voice, reprogramming your subconscious neural pathways with, well, that's what hypnotherapy is. Hypnotherapy, affirmations, it's changing those automated pathways.
Yeah, love that. Have you ever had someone join you and you've thought, oh, they're never going to make it, and they've proved you wrong?
Probably, yeah. I think I must have done, at some points, because people just surprise you.
That's the best bit.
I do think if you've got that desire and you're willing to learn, and you'll keep going, you've got that discipline to do the growth and the learning, I do think you can get that.
Yeah. Well, you are that perfect example. On paper, no one would have ever, given you oh, she could, not even a could. It was just that, and you're here being that example. And that's why I just love your story so much, because, you know, so many of us like do have big personalities, or we're doing this, and you would definitely say that, you know, you're not in that category. You know, you are shy, you aren't the person to speak out. But what I always love, and I have this thing that Stu and I do, when we're in a panic or we're some things, you know, we're like, oh God, you know, it's like it's happened in our life. We always say, what would Sarah Danning do? Because what you have is total, it's like your pendulum from knowing what's right and what's wrong and what to do. It's just always right. How do you get to that point?
I think it's definitely personal development, calmness and being sensitive and being rational and looking at things not in a non-reactive way is a big part that's come from personal growth. But then I do think it started in childhood. My mum and dad are very driven by values, what's right and wrong, and they always demonstrated that.
Yeah. And
just that feeling of like, I know I'd feel not good about myself if I did things that weren't the right things. It's knowing your values. Actually, the crux of it is knowing your values and living by them.
Yeah. And do you believe that you're living by your values now?
Yeah, 100%. And I think you can't be successful in anything that you do if it's not aligned with who you are. So if your values are in contradiction to the thing that you're doing, you'll never have massive success. So everyone that's at the top of the game, in business, for example, they genuinely believe what they're doing, what they're offering is aligned with who they are and their values.
Yeah. Then you can't, it's like success is inevitable almost.
Yeah. I think so.
Yeah. I totally agree. Once you just, it's like almost like finding your purpose. Is it like, what am I here to do? And how can I do it in a way that makes me feel good in all areas? Because that's how I go on everything that I'm doing. Like, what I'm about to do, does this make me feel happy? Does this make me feel like good about myself? And if the answer is not 100% like an absolute definite yes, then I'm 9 times out of 10 won't do it. Whether that be even go for drinks with a friend, whether that be pick someone up from the airport. If it's not like yes, then it's a no. And I used to be a massive yes person because I used to feel like, oh, I've got to do everything for everybody because then they'll like me.
Yeah.
But learning to say no.
Be liked by other people when you like yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. But I have learned to say no, and it has changed my life.
Yeah. I'm so happy for you.
Do you say no to lots of things, Sarah? Because you must have so much opportunity coming your way. Do you say no to things now?
Yeah, I do, but it is hard because I am just yes, I can see opportunity in basically everything, and that sometimes is a challenge. I am, because that optimist, I sort of think everything's going to work. This is going to be great. This is the thing, and I have to rein myself in. And Kev's really helped me with that because he's a lot more balanced and looks at the facts as opposed to the emotions. I get very like, this is it, because I have that sort of personality.
Yeah, I love that. So you two like the dream team kind of working together. And talk about, so investments and things like that, Sarah. So like looking forward, so now you've got, this huge online empire. What have you done with your money? Like what do we do? I'm sat here like, what would I do with my income? Like what would be the best thing to do?
I don't know what the best thing to do is, but the thing for me was I just thought I want to match my basically the way I thought about it probably 10 years ago was I want my outgoings to be covered by something else as well as, and then my business could be for other stuff, investments, etc. So my goal was to build my property portfolio up so the cash generated from that covered all my outgoings. So that's what I did.
Oh my God, I love that. How many properties do you have?
Not many. 6, I think. Sold one. Yeah, but I'm about to buy a few more. Yeah.
God, it's so good. It's so inspiring. It's just so inspiring. So in theory, you don't live off your Arbonne wage.
In part, because my life's changed a bit, and that's why I'm about to do some more, buy some more properties, because as like I've acquired 3 children, I'll go to private schools and there's other things. I probably need to increase. I was thinking that a bit last week, actually. I need to increase that other cash flow from other things. But the great thing is from my business, my online business, it just gives you the cash flow to then create more if you invest it in the right ways.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And that's like that next level. That's what the, rich dad, poor dads like ultimately taught us. It's like once you have that money, then you invest it in that money in something that's going to make you more money without you even doing anything.
Totally, yeah. And I just love numbers. I love considering I was terrible at maths at school, I just love doing calculations and like working out percentages. I'm like, blah, 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 blah. Get so excited about that.
Oh God, I wish I did. I'm like all about how does it make me feel? What's the vision? So, but I need to learn more from you, as I always do.
You send me the numbers, I'll do them for you. I get so excited.
Yeah, I will. So Sarah, in parting, I always ask everybody this question. And the question is, what advice would you give to your younger self?
I would tell myself that you're worthy of all the love, all the success, everything that you desire. And tune into that voice and don't let anything tell you anything. Like tune into that voice and make sure it's serving you.
Absolutely. The best. And do you teach that to your children now?
I do. My stepdaughter's 14. So it seems easier to tell teenagers. Kids don't even have that. They're just so present and in the moment. Young kids. But it's fun now because I'm getting my teeth fixed. My stepdaughter's 14. It's getting to a good age where I can really actually get the concept of things.
Yeah. And it's like, imagine we knew what we knew then, like what our life would have been like.
I know. I can't wait to just give her all the books to read and, stuff that when you're at that time to accept it and understand it, you can start to implement it.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more. But Sarah, it has been my biggest pleasure. I could talk and question you for absolutely hours, but thank you. And if you listen to this, anybody, and you want to get in contact with Sarah, what is your Instagram?
Sarah Dunning UK.
And then we do have, if you're interested in the Be Well, please just message myself or Sarah and we can add you into that group and you can get such incredible value for free. So it's just an amazing thing. So, yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Sarah, the one and only Sarah Dunning. Thank you.